Hello darlings, it's Amithia. Let's grab some tea and get comfy and cozy. We are going to be going through my top 10 books of all time. These are my ride or dies. These are the books that I believe everybody should read, everybody can get something out of, and they really span, well, mainly the dark romance genre. Nobody's surprised, but with a healthy sprinkle of obsession and magic and toxicity and theatre. So let's get to it. We also have some graphic novels in here too. These are my all-time favourite books. I have a list of names I will be referring to because there's no way in this universe that I will remember all these names. So bear with me. But let's get to it. So in no particular order, because I will die for all of these characters. All of them. We are going to start with Stay With Me by Nicole Fiorina. Now this follows Ollie and Mia, who have been sent to a correctional facility as their step before jail. So it's a mix of therapy, recreational and educational activities. And it's basically where they go to prevent them going to jail. If they can get through here with a clean slate, then they get released out into the public with their records expunged and they can carry on with life, kind of vibe. Mia is someone who, in the first book, Stay With Me, feels nothing. She has a dissociative disorder and suspected antisocial personality disorder because of the stuff that she's done to land herself here. And then Ollie is someone who feels far too much all of the time. He feels everything all the time. And so it's no surprise he is a poet. And Ollie and Mia, I would say, have like a soulmate kind of connection, in the sense that they see each other and are instantly connected, and they pull each other through the throes of life, through the thick and thin. They save each other's asses on so many occasions. And in the first book, it's Ollie's mission to bring Mia back to her emotional self, to kind of unearth the person hidden behind all of the antisocial bull that she puts forward and kind of the blockades that she puts up. There is a bit of an element of fan family in this series because there are a group of friends that you kind of follow in the background, and as well as there being this gorgeous love story going on between Ollie, who is a poet who's trying to get published to support their life together, and Mia, whose interests and like person kind of reveal and are developed across the series. So as well as those guys and following their gorgeous lyrical romance of them just trying to survive this correctional centre and become the best versions of themselves, you also have background plots of like stalkers and potential murderers and a general vibe of kind of being unsafe regardless of the authorities' attempts to keep things safe and secure. And that those kind of plots develop over the 3-book series. The kind of main protagonists, that's the wrong word, main enemies, let's say, in each of the books, kind of a danger to kind of get through and survive, right? And then so you kind of follow Ollie and Mia through various stages of recovery. So in the second book, there's a change to Ollie's medication. He kind of becomes like a different person in the sense of he acts incredibly differently to in the previous book, and then you kind of see if Ollie and Mia get through that. And then in the last book, there's more of like a thriller aspect in that murders have happened, something terrible happens, and it's kind of Ollie and Mia trying their damnedest to get back to each other despite the fact the world doesn't have a place for them and they have to carve it out for themselves. And like Ollie's past comes back to bite them in the ass, Mia's past comes back to bite them in the ass, in the sense that she has no one. And so it kind of becomes more thrillerish as you get through. I would say it still kind of stays on the romance, the soulmate connection, the being the best versions of ourselves, and kind of sticking through for the joys and the pleasure of experiencing life through all the crap that gets thrown our way. And so if you are in the mood for a really like inspirational read with a ride or die kind of love story with like a touch of thriller and a touch of fan family, massive mental health representation, and like some kind of thriller suspense plots in the background amidst this journey of like healing, Stay With Me is perfect for you. Any of Nicole Fiorina's books really are always for the hopeless romantics, but this series in particular, with Ollie being so poetic and Mia fighting so fucking hard to heal herself and be the person she wants to be, inspirational. This is one of my all-time favorite like comfort series. I think I read it once a year minimum, so that's kind of the starting point. Similar but different, we're going to share Twisted Heathens by J. Rose. This also happens to take place in a mental health or correctional facility, but with incredibly different vibes. This one is a dark romance, and I mean incredibly dark. We have 5 main protagonists who all have very extreme manifestations of mental health disorders. We have an institution that is insidious and corrupt and disgusting, and throughout the books this kind of dangerous nature builds and builds and builds, and it's kind of these 5 characters against the whole institution trying to take it down because like the country is in freaking peril from this organization. And then we have like dark explorations of kink because, you know, folks have intense mental health experiences. So let me introduce the cast to you. We have Brooklyn, who has schizophrenia as well as PTSD. We have Cade, who has some form of OCD. I would say like a relationship OCD, but he kind of becomes the caretaker of the group. We have Eli, who has extreme PTSD. He's also mute. We have Phoenix, who has, I would say, bipolar and then also a sex addiction. And then we have Hudson, who has something akin to antisocial personality disorder. So you can see how these guys, their behaviors and antics and needs are all going to clash and contrast and make a really interesting dynamic. Now, I will say it doesn't start off as a polycule. The relationships start between Brooklyn and Phoenix and Eli, and then it develops between the rest, and Brooklyn and Hudson have like a proper enemies to lovers because of the trauma they both experienced in the past. And so the way that these guys connect and have each other's backs through everything is wild. And the graveyard scene, yeah, lives in my head rent free. And the reveals through this series of everybody who's involved in this disgustingly corrupt institution and all the harm they've done, heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. So if you're in for an incredibly dark polycule romance with like mental health institutions and like almost like cult vibes, but in the sense of like organized crime, this series is for you. It's like suspenseful, it's thriller-y, it's like mental health recovery and carving out a place for your world, but it's dark as all hell. So just be aware of that going in. Read it when you're in a good headspace, you know? Next, I'm gonna go with Kid by Jessie Hall. Now, Kid follows Kid and Johanna, who are both messy, toxic people with various levels of drug abuse and avoidance issues. And Kid kind of moves to this small town in with Hawk and Cole, who are good friends of his, and in a previous book, it's not connected, but there we go, to kind of move to this town and see if he still wants to be alive, essentially, really to get like a new market for his drug sales. But it becomes like Hawk encouraging him to make something of himself and create a life that he's proud of. And then Johanna comes along and she's a whirlwind of a character. She uses like mysticism and quirkiness and morbidity as like massive blocks to keep people at a distance, and she has the nastiest habit of running away, right? And so it's kind of Kid and Johanna colliding in such quirky, interesting ways that would only work for him, and kind of breaking down each other's defenses and going on this wild fucking ride. And then there's like a subplot of like theft and danger in terms of Kid getting involved with the wrong kinds of drugs people and Johanna getting involved with a tiny bit of organized crime in order to get something back that was stolen from her, and those guys kind of keeping each other safe and having each other's backs. This sampling even is fucking gorgeous in the way it's written. Like, Jessie Hall doesn't write as lyrically as Nicole Fiorina, but she does write in a way that suits the characters perfectly. And like the ending and the way that these characters progress and grow is so true to them. And I just fucking love these characters so much. And like, I will say this book is very character driven, as most of these books are. So part of why I love this book so much is because I adore Kid and Johanna so much. And so I'm so excited to like reread it this year. So excited. Right, Next, we're going to go, I can't even say we're going to go with a lighter topic because I read dark romances. Okay, we're going to go with something that's a bit lighter written, okay, which is going to be Blood Orange and Black Rose is a duet by Karina Halley. And it is a bit of a Dracula retelling in the sense that it follows Valtu, who is Dracula, and Dahlia, who is his reincarnated love, Mina, from many, many years ago. And if you know Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it kind of has those vibes in the sense that she is a witch and she is trying to take down vampires in Val 2 because she's in league with this organization who their whole aim is to get rid of vampires, right? And so it starts off as an undercover like teacher-student romance because she is a music student in Venice, my favorite city of all time. You can see why this is my favorite series. And she kind of undercover trying to take down Val 2. It turns into a romance between them and them keeping each other safe through this like global cosmic plot to take them down and reclaim her magic for the organization and kill Val 2 to get his power. And like some other characters from like other books that are like linked but separate, you know what I mean, kind of come in, and there's a final battle which is really, really fun. I will say, like, there is a touch of like magical fantasy in the second book towards the end with the final battles and stuff, but it's very, very light. So if you're more there for and kind of urban fantasy romance, this fits. And it's mainly like it goes into reincarnation and past lives and that kind of stuff more in the second book, and in the first book it's very much a student teacher romance, and then both of them touch on like kink experiences and like dungeon room experiences and that kind of stuff and sensuality. So it's a lot of fun. It's, I would say, quite lighthearted compared to everything else on this list. Karina Halley's writing style is very easy to digest, very easy to get through. So it's just a fun time, and I really, really recommend it. I will say, like, one of the reasons it's my favourite is because we have vampires, we have witches, and it's set in Venice, and she's a music student. Like, it's all my favourite things in a book. So, read it. It's gorgeous. Let me know in the comments if you already have, because I need to vent with people on this. Okay. Moving on. In a bit of a very different direction, actually, we're going to go with The Autumnal, which is a graphic novel standalone by Kravis Sheehan and Wordy Campbell. This follows a mother-daughter duo. This follows Kat and Sybil. Kat is a rough and ready single mum who has been called back to relocate to the town she grew up in and take Sybil with her, her daughter, who is called Mistress Explosion Destroyer because she has some anger issues, right? And so they both relocate to this cozy town where she grew up in. And this cozy town has some mysteries, it has some secrets, it has some creepy stories and singy-songy things that imply there's like this nefarious, creepy, supernatural background thing happening. And it becomes a raging story of motherhood, like what it takes to be a mother, and like how we can be enraged and not understand the mothers who came before us, and who gets compassion in this sleepy town that just wants to keep the status quo and who doesn't. So, and it's fucking gorgeous, this series. Let me see if I can show you without spoilers the art style of this sleepy town. The page I want to show you is a spoiler, so we're gonna have to skip, but like, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It has very like autumnal kind of color schemes of oranges and reds and blacks and browns and like grays and that kind of stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's something I can read over and over again and just enjoy the ride. It's somehow so atmospheric, even though it balances text and pictures so well. So if you're into a bit of feminist rage, supernatural background characters, and a good old mother-daughter duo in a small sleepy town with something spooky going on, this is the vibe. This is the vibe. It is a perfect wintry autumnal read. Go for it and tell me what you think. I'm so curious to know. So that's The Autumnal. In a similar-ish vein, we have The Omnibus of Rachel Rising by Terry Moore. Now this follows Rachel, who it turns out is at the very start is murdered, and then she comes alive again because it turns out she is a witch, and she is part of a bunch of witches who were burned many hundreds of years ago, and all of those witches are slowly reincarnating to burn the town to dust. And it kind of becomes her and her friend Jet trying to save the town and kind of save the world a little bit through various witchy occult means. And then as you kind of go through the series, you meet the different witches, figure out why they're mad, figure out where they're coming from, figure out where their power source is from. There's a bit of Antichrist kind of vibes towards the end as well. And the whole time through, there's kind of this mystery of who the hell murdered her and why the hell did they do it. So we've got kind of detective vibes, we've got kind of save the world vibes, we've got lots of witchy undertones, obviously, and reincarnation, and it's just a good time. I think I get something different from this every single time I read it. Sometimes I'm there for the witchy vibe, sometimes I'm there for the banter between her and Jet and the other characters, sometimes I'm there for the kooky characters, because there are a few of them, and sometimes I'm there for just like the mystery of it all and like unpeeling the layers, because this series gives and gives and gives in terms of lore the whole way through, but it's easy to follow. It all tracks and makes sense once it's revealed. And there is a bit of foreshadowing as well, so if you're paying attention, you might be able to figure stuff out. So I recommend it, even though it is quite long in the sense this is an omnibus, but obviously if you wanted, you could take it one little issue at a time. That's just not my way when I get obsessed with something. So that's Rachel Rising, the omnibus. Now, to follow on the witchy vibes, I'm going to share Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina. You will have heard this in previous videos. I will put this in every video I possibly can because it's my favourite book of all time. So this follows Fallon and Julian. Fallon is drawn to the sleepy town of Weeping Hollow because her grandpa is sick, and so she's been asked to join the town again and basically tend to Benny, and ends up kind of saving the town accidentally by being like a lone wolf that's slowly accepted kind of vibe. But this also follows, there are two warring covens in the town, the Hollow Heathens and Sacred Sea, and there's a long feud between them, and magic is hidden and books are stolen, and there's a curse running through this whole thing of the Hollow Heathens, who are masked men, and the curse is that anyone who looks into the faces of the Hollow Heathens will be stone cold dead from seeing their fears brought to life. And so for Fallon and Julian, they're kind of trying to break the curse the whole way freaking through. They're trying to save the town from this curse and kind of save Julian and the Hollow Heathens from being persecuted, because they have been for hundreds of years now. And that's heartbreaking. And so Fallon and Julian they fall in love, and their love defies all consequences. And it's gorgeous in that they're just there for each other over and over and over. And it kind of follows this themes, very like Frankenstein kind of themes actually, of railing against that label of monster and choosing to define yourself and choosing to define what makes you happy and making it happen. And again, Nicole Fiorina's writing is fucking beautiful, so lyrical. There's a speech kind of inner monologue about Julian towards Fallon, of her being the moon and him being besotted, and it's one of my favourite monologues of all fucking time. It's gorgeous. I will throw this book at everybody who is in my sphere. I'm just like, read it, please. Thank you so much. Again, I read this at least twice a year. It's been my favourite book for 3 whole years now since I read it. I adore it. If you love Gilmore Girls for the small town, if you love Wednesday for the spooky vibes, if you love Charmed for witches and spirits and spooky things going on, because again, this town is suspended in time. There's so much lore. It's gorgeous. And let's not forget Freddie in the Morning, the morning radio host who speaks to you directly and invites you to enjoy the town. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina is one of my favorite romances, spooky witchy romances of all freaking time. Gorgeous. Okay, moving on, because I will speak about that one forever. We have Ominous by K.V. Rose. Ominous by K.V. Rose is the romance between Eli, a psychopath, a diagnosed psychopath, and Eden, a girl with other mental health needs that I can't disclose because that's a spoiler. But it basically follows their mutual obsession and escalation of their romance. They're both going to a dark academia kind of university together, and their relationship pushes kinks verging on death and harm, right? And there's also like a murder plot in the background because one of Eli's friends is missing, and there's the mystery of what happened to her. Was she murdered? Did she leave? Was Eli the one who murdered her? We don't know. And the whole time Eden is kind of in this suspense of, holy shit, am I safe? Whilst they push boundaries over and over together and get mutually obsessed. And so it kind of follows them in all their chaos, in all their connection and chemistry. It's wild. Like, there's a point in this book where it reminds you it's only been 2 weeks since they got together, and like floors me every freaking time. I'm currently going through and annotating my copy of these, and let me tell you, it feels like a gift every time I open these books. I relate to so much of Eden's inner thoughts and her experiences and stuff. It's almost like reading a diary for me. So it's intense as all heck. And again, incredibly character driven, quite dark. I'm going to say medium dark, in the sense that they both have traumas that are explained, and the stuff that happens escalates in terms of risk and danger. And obviously you have obsession and toxicity and drug use and a little bit of kink and coming of age kind of vibes as well. And then a little bit of like suspense and thrill in the background with the whole what happened to Winter. Did she die? Was she kidnapped? Who knows what the hell happened? So there's a lot that goes on across these two books. And this one is quite a thick one. But again, if you're here for character-driven books, pick these up. Eli is a diagnosed psychopath. So if psychopath versus good girl is a trope, if psychopath is a trope, pick this up. If toxic relationships are a trope, pick this up. Dark romance, we know that. That's why we're all here. Pick this up. It's so, so good. If you want mutual obsession, which I find kind of refreshing because usually it's one-sided at first. Yeah. Mutual obsession, where they are just as unhinged as each other, but in different ways. They're true to their characters. Pick up Ominous. Enjoy some lyrical writing from KB Rose. And like go down the rabbit hole. These two, fucking rabbit hole. Enjoy. You're welcome. Okay. Next, I'm going to go through If We Are Villains, which, If We Were Villains even, by Amel Brio, is again another one of my favourite books, as are every single book in this list. But If We Were Villains by KB Rose is a different kind of rabbit hole, in the sense that it follows 7 Shakespeare students and this kind of murder mystery whodunit on who the fuck killed Richard, who's an arsehole barely anybody liked, who gets murdered, and the question is who did it. And it's told from the perspective of Oliver, who is sent to jail at the very start. Like, it's told from him being released, and he's telling the police officer who's been on the case this whole time, hey, since I'm being released, fine, I'm ready to tell the story. And it kind of goes into like the nitty gritty of what happened between these 7 thespian theatre Shakespeare students in their university, which is low-key cultish in terms of Shakespeare. It's like a cult to do with Shakespeare in a way, because everyone is just so dedicated. They live and breathe. And this book is like a commentary and exploration on whether people, whether actors, become the characters that they're playing, or whether it's the other way around, that there's some kind of relatability between them and the characters they're playing, and they're people first. And it really like blurs the line between what is acting, what is reality, what are archetypes, and how do they impact into our personality, right? It's so interesting. And the whole way through, we have Shakespeare quotes, we have the students speaking in some Shakespeare, so it flips between mostly usual speak, but they do use Shakespeare quotes in ways we can understand throughout the book, just in general conversation, because it's part of their university experience, right? And these guys are like the creme de la creme, the best in their class, the best in their production. And so like they live and breathe Shakespeare, and it really has gorgeous themes of like who you underestimate and who you forget about, and who you cast a certain role, and whether it's their fault that they live into or don't. And it's so interesting. And it also like different forms of like attraction and love and like found family vibes especially. So as I said, it's told from Oliver. Then we have Oliver and James. James and Oliver have a best friendship that's bordering on obsession, bordering on homoromantic, but it never quite goes there, I don't think. And then we have Richard, who's like the arsehole leader. Then we have Meredith, who's like the femme fatale kind of sexual creature, who her biggest fear is something along the lines of she's afraid that her best asset is her sexual appeal, and actually she has no genius, and that's not the case. But like in throughout this, like each character is torn to fucking shreds and built back up, and it's fucking amazing. And then we have Philippa, who is always underestimated but is incredibly smart. And then we have Alexander, who is usually cast as the villain in all of the plays, and you kind of see why. And it's just a fucking gorgeous commentary on like the cultish vibes of education, on the impact of Shakespeare on life, on like whether there's a distinction between art and reality. It's fucking gorgeous. It's fucking gorgeous. And if you want to get lost in a dark academia setting, pick this up with a little whodunit murder mystery vibe, just to keep you really fucking entertained. It's gorgeous. Okay, where are we? Let's collect ourselves. Wow, we rocketed through. I feel like the last one I have to share with you, I don't have a physical copy of. Okay, not because I don't love it, but because honestly, I couldn't tell you. I've just been procrastinating. So we have The Losers Duet by Harley Leroux. So that follows Jess and I think 4 other guys who I don't recall their names right now. I will put them somewhere. But Jess is kind of the mean girl in high school. She is the cheerleader, the popular girl. And these group of guys in the town are the outcasts. They're picked on, they're bullied. And they've always kind of had a relationship in high school where she's been attracted to them, they've been attracted to her. But because of the social hierarchy and because of the out and out bullying and outcasting, it's never been safe for any of them to have a relationship. And Jess actually bullied them while they were in high school, right? But there's a little novella before this series where they're at a Halloween party and they have a kink experience and they realise that, holy shit, they have wicked chemistry. And so in the book, the convenient setup is that Jess and her horrid group of friends play a prank on the guys by smashing up their garage, which is their main business, and smashing up their home. And so to pay them back for the damages, because Jess gets caught, Jess is like, okay, I'll pay you with sexual favors because I don't have the money for this. And so that's the kind of convenient setup. But what this story becomes is so fucking heartfelt, such an amazing, like, the coming of age kind of story, in the sense of discovering kink, discovering identity, like having a public persona versus a private persona, and like the protections we put in place. There's like massive fan family with these guys and different dynamics between each of them. There's also a background story of Manson's relationship with his dad and how his dad is a fucking menace to the entire town and we hate him, right? But there's a little bit of a thriller aspect in the sense of how far the dad is going to go to be a fucking menace. There's a little bit of a thriller aspect in the sense of that Jess's shit show of a friendship group really have it fucking out for Manson and the crew. And like, how far are they willing to go? Will it go to murder? Will it go to ambulances and medical care being needed? Like, how far will they fucking go? So there's this like brim of hostility that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. And then there's like the kink exploration as well, which is so emotional and so visceral, and the chemistry is fucking golden. It's also just a lot of fun. There are like lighter moments and heavier moments, and like the different characters are all very, very different. There's incredibly wholesome vibes with the crew and their family, and some of them, and like, so like you really get a really breadth of experiences. It's fucking adorable, and it's a solid comfort read of mine, like both books. The writing style is also really, really easy to read. It's really, really easy to get through. So even though there's like different plots, different characters, different themes, it's really, really easy to follow. It's like on the lighter end of dark romances as far as I read, in the sense of like the menace, and there is trauma, and I don't think that's really on page. I think they kind of explain it, but that's not like actively on page as far as I remember. So like in terms of dark romance, this is on the lesser extent compared to this list, personally. So those are my absolute fucking favourite reads. I'm going to do some honourable mentions before we go though. So my honourable mentions, they're only honourable mentions because I haven't done the reread test yet. All of these books I've reread multiple times and I'm still fucking in love with them, right? The honourable mentions I haven't yet reread fully. So they haven't passed the will you be my favourite forever test. Anyway, with that said, we have Her Soul to Take by Harley Leroux. This features Ray and Leon. Ray is a paranormal investigator, like a non-professional one. She's trying to be professional, but hasn't quite made it. And she goes to university in, I think it's Abelham, the town that is really spooky and cultish, and there's nefarious shit going on. And we know this because Leon, our main guy, is a demon who's basically being held hostage by the powerful family in the town and has to do their bidding, and they have bid him to kill Ray. Yep, as a sacrifice. So the story becomes Leon trying to fucking resist those orders and keep Ray safe, and Loki stalk her, and they have amazing cemetery sex and like different kink scenes, and it's so much fun. And then you've got kind of like the cultish themes and whether or not they manage to overcome that, and like the awesome fight scenes that happen, and like kind of the mind fuckery as well, because these are like Cthulhu-esque monsters. So it's really fun, really dark, really great for spooky season. And I say dark in terms of like aesthetics, I think, more than anything, because again, in terms of dark romance on this list, this is like in the middle. But a fun time. It's a fun time. I think all of Harley Leroux's books so far that I've read are a fun time. They're very easy to read. So that's cool. And then my second honourable mention, because again, it hasn't passed the reread test yet, is The Choice by A. Jade. Now, this is like a 6 on the dark romance read, in the sense of mental health themes, trauma themes, toxicity themes because we are following Skylar and Memphis. Skylar is somebody who is growing up in an abusive household. Memphis is somebody who is a foster kid who's been taken in next door as her neighbor. And then there becomes like a three-way, will they, won't they, relationship happening between Skylar, Memphis, and someone beginning with J, who is a toxic motherfucker. And like there's the manipulation that happens, there's like experience of abuse and trauma, and Skylar and Memphis particularly looking out for each other and being a safe space for each other. Now they meet when they're 13 and they kind of help each other get through rough patches, and then there's a period of time when they're apart and Memphis becomes a fucking rock star because he's an amazing guitarist, and there's the whole how the hell will they make any kind of connection work, especially with the J guy being an arsehole and manipulating them both, and like to the point of like hospitalization. That's all I will say in terms of spoilers, but like it's fucking amazing. It's incredibly angsty, it's incredibly character driven, as most of these books are, and this one's got like rockstar romance elements to it as well. I am so excited for the second book to come out this year. I feel like I've been waiting forever, but also I have ADHD and no sense of time, so who knows. Anyway, those are my honourable mentions. Wait, no, hang on, I forgot nearly, but I remembered, yay! My last honourable mention, you'll already have heard about in my other videos, but that is Lights Out by Navessa Allen. This took book 2 by fucking storm, as it should, because Lights Out follows Ali and Josh. Ali is a trauma nurse, Ali is a trauma nurse who is thoroughly burnt the fuck out, and Josh is an adult entertainer online. Ali is obsessed with Josh's videos but doesn't know it's him. Josh notices this and stalks her and breaks into her home as a masked man, and kink ensues, but like very fucking self-aware in the sense that this man on cameras realizes he's made Ali feel unsafe and is like, fuck, our next interaction I need to make her feel incredibly safe and prove that she can trust me, and like he checks his fucking privilege, and that's a theme throughout the whole fucking book, but it's done like with humor and with bants and with self-awareness, and so it's so fucking fun. And this book has become like a bible that I just want to throw at any male that I have any kind of connection to. I'm just like, here, learn, thank you so much. Like, this is the blueprint. This is the fucking blueprint. It's so much fun. So we've got like their relationship and kink exploration, and then we've got like an organized crime element where like shit goes down and they need to get themselves out of a sticky situation, and it turns out Ali's family is crime adjacent and help out, and like it's kind of a little bit thrillery, but like the whole time, even when the suspense happening, there's like comedic relief, there's like bants and like emotional validation. It's just such a good time. And then the ending is like non-traditional, but it suits the characters so fucking well, and again, it's lighthearted, it's full of possibility, it's fun. Like this whole book was so fun to me, and so I'm just so excited to have like 2 copies in my library, one for me and one to throw at people as a blueprint for how I want to be interacted with. Thank you very fucking much. So they are my honorable mentions. These are all of my fucking favorite books. Let me see if I can pile them and show you. Okay, we're gonna get this list together in no particular order. I think this is all the books. This is so heavy. Wow. Okay, and then the graphic novels. Oh, here. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. And then I will be putting in links to the honourable mentions. What am I saying links for? Pictures and descriptions. All the books I mentioned will be in the description below. Please tell me what your fucking favourite books are, especially recommendations for like poly, for dark romance, for like mental health books, for like dark romance-esque graphic novels. That would be amazing, like Gothic graphic novels. I'm always in the market for more. If you have recommendations for dark romance, witchy graphic novels, put them below. If you have recommendations for dark romance, witchy romances, polycules, mental health romances, please put them right below. And if you love, enjoy, like, have read any of the books mentioned, fucking tell me about it, because I do not see these books on my social medias enough. I did see the Blood Orange duet initially when it came out, but since then it died off, and the rest I don't really see anywhere. So that may just be a me thing. If not, fucking let me know where they are, because I would love to see more of them. But with that, that is everything from me for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you next time.